Hello, and thanks for joining us for 5 Miles Easy, where we go behind the scenes on the highs, lows, and uphill battles on our running journeys and bring you conversations to inspire, motivate, and get you one step closer to your goals.
So let's lace up for 5 Miles Easy.
Thanks for joining us for 5 Miles Easy. Today we are joined by Olympian Katie Snowden, and here's a snippet of what's to come.
I think I'm always curious what my limit is, and I think that's what kind of keeps me motivated and makes me want to keep training and racing, because I think it's just that I'm intrigued what I can do. It's kind of also, I think, showed to me that you don't need to necessarily look at sessions and be like, wow, I need to kind of smash it out of the park and it needs to be like A-star. I think I've just consistently built almost like B+ one there, and I started to think, gosh, am I ever going to be able to get back to the level that I was, or even just run consistently, because it was just so painful even just walking around. I still had that kind of feeling like just being unsatisfied and knowing that there was more that I'd achieved so far. And I think just again that kind of curiosity to see what I could do, I think that just always motivated me.
Katie is a Team GB 1500 metre runner and has just had an incredible season, which has seen her go second fastest British female of all time. She also smashed the English record, which was previously held by Dame Kelly Holmes, running 3:56 on the track. She's an Under Armour sponsored athlete and finished 6th in the 1500 metre final of the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. We're so excited to chat to Katie today and find out all about her incredible season and life on the track. But before we get going, Steph, how's your week been?
My week has been good. So it is a Tuesday today, which is session day for me. Mm-hmm. And it is incredibly windy this week. Oh my goodness, the weather has taken a turn, which I know is the most British thing to talk about, but it really has.
It has. I swear it was summer last week, and then it's like gale force winds today.
Yeah, I think summer's well and truly done now.
How did that go in your session?
It was actually a really good session. I went into it knowing it's really windy, so just not worrying about the times. It's just about the effort. And the session was 4K, 3K, 2K, then 3x1K. So I knew it was getting shorter and shorter as it went along. So I thought just start an effort that feels like fairly comfortable and then try and pick it up. And it went well because I just kind of didn't have too many expectations, and every time there was a massive gust of wind in my face, I was just like, just relax. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Control the controllables. And that really helped.
I love that. Yeah, so actually just don't battle it.
Yeah, but don't fight it.
Accept it.
It's Mother Nature. Like, you cannot beat it. So, just chill out. Like, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to slow down by like 2 seconds a mile. Yeah. So doesn't matter. And
it's fine because the effort's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm going to take that into my session tomorrow because I have to say wind is my least favourite weather condition. Yeah. I can take wind, I can take rain, anything else, but wind is just
it's really frustrating.
Destroying.
Yeah.
I get really
angry. Yeah.
I get really angry at the wind.
So you just remind yourself, just be like, there's nothing I can do, just relax, like keep relaxed, and you'll be good.
So I'm going to take that tip in, and I'm also on the track tomorrow. So this conversation has come at a very good time because hopefully I'll get some good tips from Katie too.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting. I guess track running is we may do track sessions, but actually being a track athlete is so different to being a road athlete, and just how the year is structured. It'll be really interesting to learn Katie's insights.
Yeah, it feels like a completely different sport to road running sometimes, especially the marathon, where you'll have 2 key races a year, and it's very structured in that way, and you just work towards those big races, and the rest of the time you're kind of training.
Yeah.
But she has just this summer she's had so many huge races. Yeah. So I'm really excited to learn about what that's like. I mean, I just can't imagine traveling to all those places, going into those massive stadiums, having that huge event, and then you must be pretty much back to training the next day.
Yeah, you must be on this like high of adrenaline for the summer months, and then what happens in the winter as well. So what do track athletes focus on in the winter? That's going to be another interesting thing to understand as well, because the focus is generally the summer.
A really good track. Do you like going on the track?
No, I really hate the track. Like the distances where you can do it on the road and the track. So at 5K, for example, my PBs are always faster on the road. Yeah. I think it's because you've got so many laps. So it's kind of like mentally
It's
harder.
really tough.
Yeah, you can kind of
You
keep
know
to
when
a
you're
lap
second
pace.
off, yeah.
Whereas a road, you can kind of aim for something in the distance and be like, that's the finish line way over there. Like, just keep running really fast. So I definitely find the road a lot easier to run on. But yeah,
Even in training, I tend to do better on the roads. And I think there's something in kind of learning. I learned to run on the roads. And I actually feel like my form isn't as good on the track because I've never actually learnt it.
Yeah.
You know, I started on the roads and that's what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with the mental aspect as well. I actually dabbled in a track season this spring. Not terribly successfully, I have to say. Could not get to grips with spikes, which is another thing which I want to ask Katie about.
Yeah.
With regards to recovery, I don't know how those spikes are brutal. I don't know how she recovers so quickly. But dabbling in track this spring really made me realise what a mentally tough game it is when you see you're 1 second off a lap.
Exactly. How do you keep it switched on?
How do you keep it switched on? And I mean, I was doing 10,000 metres, which is obviously a very different race to 1,500 metres. But still, you've just got to be so switched on all the time. You can't afford to lose a second.
Yeah, and
Obviously,
don't you think
that's a big margin, isn't it?
Yeah, and don't you think it's a different pressure when it comes to racing, because in a stadium there's no escape. You're on show the whole race.
Yeah.
So everyone can see if you're like, oh, she's not having a good race. You're just like, you're on display. Whereas on the road or across country, you can kind of, you know, every spectator can't see you at every point during the whole race,
so
you
true,
know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Whole different angle to it.
Yeah.
Well, should we get on with the show and dive into all that?
Let's do it.
If you want to up your running game with a runner coaching plan, you can get 2 weeks free with the code 5 miles. That's the number 5, the word miles, on the Runner coaching app. Katie, thank you so much for joining us for 5 Miles Easy today. You are fresh off an incredible season, so I'm sure you're pretty knackered. But yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time to come in and spend some time chatting with us today. So our first question for you, which we ask all guests, is what's your why when it comes to running?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think firstly, just enjoyment. I think I just love going for a run. I don't think I've ever, for as long as I've been running, stepped out the door, gone for a run and regretted doing it. I think you always come back feeling better than when you set out. So I think that's definitely a big why. But also I think secondly, more from like a competitive point of view, I think to kind of see what my potential is. I think I'm always curious what my limit is. And I think that's what kind of keeps me motivated and makes me want to keep training and racing because I think it's just that, I'm intrigued what I can do.
And as you've shown this season, your limit is you're definitely not at it yet. It's just been incredible to watch you.
So as Rose said, you've had an absolutely incredible season, massive PBs in the 1,500 metres and the 800, breaking Kelly Holmes' English record and going second on the all-time British list for 1,500 metres. I mean, even just saying that is so incredible. What's been the highlight of your season?
Yeah, it's another one actually, because I feel like if I were to kind of put it down on paper, I think probably breaking 4 minutes in the semi-finals at World Champs in Budapest. I think that's probably like a more notable one, but I think actually the highlight is probably British Champs. I just think with the strength and depth at the minute that we've got, especially in the middle distance, I think, that was just really special because I think it's not also often that you get everyone turn up. I think sometimes, due to, injuries, kind of illness, it's not often that you just get, the kind of best that we have. And I think this year having the likes of like Laura Muir in the race and Melissa Courtney running so well, I think it just felt kind of extra special to know you'd kind of, not only beaten the best that we had, but it's just so difficult to get a British title. And I've done British Champs, I don't know how many times over the years, and I've medalled a couple, but I've never actually managed to win it. So I think that was just a kind of also like real turning point in the season that made me believe like I could then go on to Worlds and actually do well. I think kind of just being competitive with Laura. Yeah,
amazing. And what made you believe that you could beat her as well? Did you go in having any limitations thinking Laura's going to win? Like what made you overcome that and knowing that you could beat her?
Yeah, I think a bit of it's just come with experience. I think we saw last summer how she was running some of the races. I think there were a couple of times she kind of used that 600 meter real like sudden change of pace. So I think going into it in training, I tried to kind of almost, you can never plan for what's going to happen. You kind of have to be open, but I thought it was likely it could pan out like that. So I had in training practice for that kind of just sudden burst and thought about if she goes, what I'm going to do. Because I think what I managed to do quite well, which in past years I've probably tactically got it a bit wrong, is just put myself in the front and be ready for when that move was made. And I think that's come with experience. But I think knowing that, I've kind of experienced it and I knew what to expect, I think that gave me belief, as well as knowing that, the sessions have been going well. And I felt like I had the tools to kind of cope if it was fast or slow, which I think, kind of previously I probably doubted whether, I actually just had the ability to do it. I think that was kind of a difference this year. I just felt a lot better prepared for it.
That's amazing. And other than just having that race experience, is there anything else that you think has contributed to your huge progression this season? Because it does kind of feel like you've really taken a step up over this summer, especially in the 1500 meters. Yeah,
I'd say consistency is probably the main thing. I think when I look back at the last few years, there's always been, either like quite a significant injury. I had a really bad time with a plantar problem a few years ago, and that took, almost like the best part of 18 months to kind of overcome. And I think that really set me back. So I think the main thing when I look back at what I've done this year, it's not so much what I've changed, but just that I managed to consistently just do it like week in, week out over months. Because I had a couple of hiccups with illness, but touch wood, I've just not had an injury now for quite a while. And I think just, that consistency, not necessarily kind of smashing any sessions, but just doing them, week on week and banking. That kind of solid work, I think that's really paid off for me. And I think, when I look back, I've just not been able to do that, for basically since I was a junior, really. I've just always had, some kind of injury, setback, illness. Whereas this year, probably in the entire last 12 months, I don't know, maybe missed 2-3 weeks.
That's awesome. So it's just been so much smoother.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of also, showed to me that you don't need to necessarily look at sessions and be like, wow, I need to kind of smash it out of the park and it needs to be like A-star. I think I've just consistently built like, almost like B+ ones that in the past I maybe look at and be like, oh, that's not actually very good. But I think once you just do it, week in, week out, that kind of trumps, kind of 3 brilliant weeks and then a week off. Or, I think if you can just consistently do it, that actually produces better results.
And do you think that's what stopped you getting injured this time, just not going absolutely full gas in your sessions and doing those A-star ones? Do you think that previously was what was getting you injured?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think it's almost, I've just become more confident in not having to train that hard. I think before I almost was like, oh, the harder I run, the faster I'll run and the results will be better. And actually in hindsight, when I just, I had no choice but to do it differently because I just couldn't sustain it. And I think, as soon as I saw those results consistently paying off, I was like, actually, this is what works. So I think that's just been a real kind of shift in, how I've approached sessions. And I think, once you see results, then it gives you even more confidence to actually, not feel like you have to go flat out every time.
That's such a good insight. And it's just, you're right, it's having that confidence in it. Because I think, especially with things like Strava and Instagram, you look at people smashing sessions and you think, okay, all of my sessions have to be that good. And then you go and try and, do those A-star sessions and it isn't sustainable. So that is such an interesting insight that actually you found just believing in your own jam and the consistency has really paid off.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think also what's kind of helped a bit is I think I train more from like a strength point of view now as well. And I think I've taken away, I don't know, I've always had in my head, if I don't like kind of smash sessions and run really fast, then my speed will get lost and I won't be able to run PBs. But I think actually taking that more kind of, even though like obviously 8 and 15 is my main events, kind of 3K, 5K approach, I think that's helped me, do a bit more volume, but just take out that intensity that I think in the past was just kind of making me always ride that very fine line of, almost, kind of being on the verge of injury all the time. Whereas I think actually taking a step back and, I'd say I've done slightly more volume, but the intensity's gone down. And so I think, just I've managed to cope with that a lot better.
Yeah, and just knowing what works for you.
Yeah.
I think it's just so useful for everyone to know that everyone's different.
Exactly,
and for you, like, having that strength approach is working and not smashing every session. It's so good to know that you don't need to do that to be like one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
So it's so good. And then obviously it still takes a huge amount of hard work to get to where you are. And as you said, you've had those injuries over the years. What's kept you so persistent and just believing that you could make it to where you are now and beyond? Hopefully you can still build on this. So what's kind of kept you going, and have you ever had doubts that you couldn't get there?
Yeah, I think that's always quite a tough one because I think, I've definitely had, I think it was a couple of years ago when I had the really bad plantar injury and it was just being so stubborn, I couldn't get rid of it. And I started to think, gosh, am I ever going to be able to get back to the level that I was or even just run consistently because it was just so painful, even just walking around. And I think that kind of forced me to, kind of have to do a few other things on the side and, kind of explore other options in case running didn't work out. And I think that's the first time I've kind of really had doubts as to, not so much that I doubted that I could get to that level, but I doubted that my body was actually going to hold up to be able to allow me to get to do the training again. So I'd say that was definitely a really tough period, but I think once I kind of distracted myself doing other things and actually gave my body a chance to recover, and thankfully it did. I think actually once I got back into the training, I still had that kind of feeling like just being unsatisfied and knowing that there was more that I'd achieved so far. And I think just again that kind of curiosity to like see what I could do, I think that just always motivated me to keep going. And I think knowing that some of the training I'd done prior to being injured, I still felt that was better than my results reflected. So I was like, I want to get back and actually be able to do it in a race and kind of prove to myself I can be better, because I felt like training had suggested that, but I just hadn't been able to show it.
You mentioned not being satisfied, but now you've had such an amazing season and you must be so happy with it. How do you feel going forward? Like, do you struggle with getting that same fire, or does it actually just drive you even more?
I think if anything, it's kind of made me even more motivated because I think it's kind of exciting that I feel like, they're the sort of times that can kind of really put you in the mix. I think kind of going into previous years, like if I'd kind of just, got to the Olympics, I was like, wow, this is great. Whereas now I'm like, I want to kind of be like, how can I in Paris in the final do better? Like it's more, I think my mind has just changed from, okay, this is so great that I'm here, but how can I, actually like position even higher? So I think, weirdly, if anything, I think it's actually just made me more excited and motivated to train. But I think also just keep, kind of doing it sensibly and not feel that I need to now suddenly go and train even harder and do more, but just consistently do what I did this year and just hope that by doing it for longer, that will bring like improvements in itself.
Take those lessons forward.
Yeah. So Rose and I were discussing a bit earlier what life is like as a track athlete, because we're road runners, so the season looks very different, and I find it so interesting how a season looks as a track athlete because everything kind of goes into the summer. So how do you kind of plan your year and your training? Like how do you structure it?
I think when I sit down with my coach at the start of each year, I think a lot has to focus on British champs, obviously, because if you can't run well there, then you're not going to qualify for the team. And obviously, I think it's different to obviously how the road works, that so much is down to that day. Obviously, you've got to go and run the qualifying time beforehand, but like a lot is, based on that result. So I think when we look in terms of peaking, you've always got to make sure that you're, in good form by, I don't know what it is normally, start of, or end of June even, start of July. So I think that's always like a kind of key period in the summer where you've got to know you're ready to run well, and then hoping all goes well, then look at when the champs is, because obviously that varies slightly. This year it was quite late, but so I think kind of British champs, and then I guess both Europeans and Paris next year will be our kind of main period of trying to peak for, and then I guess it's kind of putting in races around that you think are going to be kind of good stepping stones to get you in the best shape for those races. So I guess over the winter is always a bit of a slog because there's nothing really that I would be aiming for. I think this year might try and do like a 5k road. I'll go back to Flagstaff in November, see whether that's in the US, or come back and just have a hard run out at a park run. There's kind of nothing really in particular that I would kind of have as a noteworthy race, but just something to break up like the monotony of training. And then again, indoors, I tend to do it most years, but it's more again stepping stone to just trying to I think break up training, see where you're at, but with all kind of eyes on the summer still. I'm not really I've had good indoor seasons, bad indoor seasons. I never read into it too much. I think really, as you said, a lot of it is just down to the summer, and between now and then it's just getting yourself kind of in as best shape as possible to run well at trials and whatever champs it might be.
And then in that summer block, you've got so many races crammed in. What really fascinates me, and again, Steph and I were talking about this before, is how do you, presumably you've still got to kind of train in between races, but then you've got the travel and you've got the races, which must take a lot out of you, especially in spikes. I don't know how you do it. How do you do it? How do you recover in time and still train and fit all of that in and then deal with the travel?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I think something every year I find really hard. I think even if you've experienced it and you've done it a couple of seasons running, it's still, I don't think it ever gets easier.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
So there's like these superhuman people.
No, definitely. Because personally, I just don't enjoy travel. I hate kind of bouncing around and living out of a suitcase. I think what some people do, which I think they find easier, is just bounce from like race to race and not kind of come home in between. But I think I'm someone that likes to have a base. So I would rather, do a race, come home, kind of reset and go again. Personally, I find that helps. Whereas I think, some people would rather just kind of be on the circuit, hopping from race to race. And they don't like kind of coming home in between. But I think it's also just picking your races wisely. I think sometimes you can kind of get caught up in you're offered a Diamond League or you're offered a really good race and you just feel like you have to do it. Whereas I think this year I tried to be really smart with, I knew Budapest was going to be at the end of the season and I didn't want to be peaking too early. So I actually didn't race that much outside of, I think I did like 2 800s, 1 1500, but that was it apart from British Champs. And then Budapest. So I felt like that also helped me not get too tired from kind of hopping around to too many places before I actually even had got to the champs. Because I think maybe that's also why on paper it looked like such a big leap that I'd suddenly gone from 4 flat at the start of the season to 356. But I think it was more that I just hadn't really gone to a fast race within the season. Otherwise,
a lot of work in between.
And just kind of focused on done a couple 8s. I did 1 Diamond League, but it was in the middle of like a St. Moritz camp, and it actually generally no one ran that quick at it anyway. So I think maybe that could have been one that had it been fast. And I tapered a bit more, that could have been faster than what I had opened up with the season. But I think it's just having that confidence that it's there. You just actually have to wait for the right race and the right time to do it.
And do you have to go straight back to training the next day?
Pretty much. I also did a few like kind of post-race sessions this year, which is something like my coach keeps putting in. I don't know if that's what other people do, but I did not enjoy those.
Hard.
I know he was very much like
mentally as well to with all the
kind of
adrenaline from the race and go into session.
Go and do one.
And the
crazy.
I know, it was really tough. But I guess it's just making sure that you don't then taper for too many races and kind of miss the training, and then making sure that you've still got enough for the champs when it comes around.
Yeah, such a fine balance.
Yeah. No, it's it's very tricky.
And you're part of the Mission Dark Sky Distance team project, based in Flagstaff. Yeah, so you don't like traveling, but do you like having a base for training? So how does the setup with that team look like, and how often are you in Flagstaff? How long do you go for, and do you like training there versus being at home?
Yeah, so I tend to do like 3 stints throughout the year there. So I'll go back in November and I'll do anything from kind of 4 to 6 weeks. So I'll come back kind of, early mid-December. And then I'll go it again kind of in the new year, probably like early January. Again, it will be kind of 4 or 5 weeks. And then, like you just kind of race off the back of it, maybe like an indoor race. Because, the US one's always, known for being pretty quick and good depth. So, I'll probably race there before I come home. And then I'll go out a third time. Do like a spring camp. So it'll be kind of, end of March, early April. Stay there. And then again, normally open my season outdoors in the US as well. And I love it. I think just Flagstaff as a training base, I think it's like a brilliant location. I found altitude really works for me. I think that's something that's made a real difference the last few years. And also just a great group. Like you've always got people to train with, whether it's kind of my like immediate group that are in kind of Mission Run Dark Sky, or just the fact that it's such a popular place to train. You're always going to have whether it's British athletes or athletes from other countries coming to train there. And I'd say like we're quite an open group as well. We're not kind of really closed off if someone wants to come and join. They're always like more than welcome, and I think that's quite a nice kind of setup to have. If I could go anywhere, even if I wasn't with the group, I'd want to go to Flagstaff. So it's kind of great to actually.
Just a complete running mecca.
Because have you not been?
I haven't been.
No. It's amazing. Have you been?
No,
Steph?
No.
You have to go. It's just, I think, just like the variety of trails and. You've got the option of there's a track high, there's a track low, so you can do the quality stuff when it comes more to the outdoor season. But over the winter, you don't really kind of need to drop down. But I just think having all those options, and you will never go to a trail and not have someone to run with. Like there's always company.
That's so cool.
And have you since going pro? So did you go full time a couple years ago now? after the Olympics?
So it was end of 2021. I actually signed with Under Armour, but I'd actually already gone out that spring and joined the group because as I said, they're really open to kind of people joining in. So I just loved it, and I loved the place. So
and then since then you've had way more time to be able to do stuff like that rather than be working here.
No, definitely. And don't get me wrong, I love home and I love training in London as well. But I think having that place where you can just go and kind of break it off and have a change of scenery, it works really well.
Do you like the intensity of it? So whenever I've done training camps, I go and join the Puma team out in North Carolina sometimes, and I love it, but it is quite an intense environment, and it is just run, eat, sleep, repeat. Do you like that? It's
like another thing I like about Flagstaff is it's a very place like that you can just, it feels a bit like home in the sense of like there's coffee shops, there's restaurants, there's things to do. It doesn't feel like, I don't know, you're literally kind of stuck up a mountain with nothing to do but run, eat, sleep. So I think that's why I find it quite like an easy environment to be in that sense.
There.
And like a rest day you can go to Grand Canyon, or there's things you can just go and do that are just really fun and not at all running related.
Do a trip there.
You're selling us.
And I think, and also like I don't live with teammates either. I will just go and book my own place, or like this time when I go back, I'm staying with 2 German athletes that are nothing to do with kind of Under Armour and not British or anything, but I just think you're always going to find people that you can go and live
keep
with.
It fun.
What does that look like for you? Do you run on it? Do you like go out with friends? What's on the agenda?
So actually like kind of different to how I've done it in the past. I've tried to keep in a couple really easy 3-4 mile runs on this break. I think in my head kind of 2-3 weeks is always a good amount of time kind of to have off from like kind of proper structured training. But I think just what I found in the past when I've completely rested and then started back, the old like niggle creeps in almost straight away, and it's so frustrating because you're like, I've just given myself a break, like it should have helped that I've rested, and then I end up picking up something.
Body needs to run.
Exactly. So I've always found just doing a bit of like loading, whether it's even just some like activations in the day, just kind of keeping a little bit of conditioning in, I think it can make a big difference. Because otherwise, you go from almost a really full on training program to just absolutely nothing. And I think actually, although you think you're doing good, I don't think always that is the way to do it. So this year trying it slightly different, and just keeping in a bit of loading, but obviously very different.
I think that makes sense. And then but you're also resting your mind as well,
because
you've just had a few months of being so switched on and all these focuses and goals. So it's nice to just relax. You can still enjoy the running, but you're not like, oh my gosh, I need to peak for this race.
Exactly. No, it's more like a kind of mental break, isn't it? Just that usual structure and feeling like you have to run, whereas it's quite nice just actually going out, not caring about the pace and just like enjoying where I am running, whereas so often you're looking at splits and not really taking in kind of what's around you. So that's been nice.
How long is it until you get really itchy and want to get back to it?
It's a good question, because I feel like I could probably go at least like 3 weeks, I reckon, and then I'd probably start to, I think it would also probably depend who I was like surrounding myself with, because I'm going to Cornwall next week and a couple of them are runners, and I think if I saw them going out every day, I'd maybe be a bit like, oh, I'm quite tempted to come, whereas I think otherwise I could probably go at least a couple of weeks and then start to want to go. But having said that, like it's been quite nice doing the odd easy run now. I don't feel like it's been a chore, or I've thought, God, I really should go and do this, but I don't want to. It's been quite nice, just being quite flexible.
Do you like cram your social life when you're in off season?
I actually made a bit of a mistake, because I flew back from New York on Tuesday and I looked at the flight date and it said the 12th, so I was like, oh great, I can do something on the night of the 13th, but I realized with the time difference I actually landed then on the 13th. So literally having like just got home, I was like, right, I'm meant to be out in a few hours and then like went straight to Soho, and it was great fun. I'm glad I went, but when I realized, I was like, wow, I really need to just give myself
get
maybe a couple of days just to properly recover, but no, it's always nice seeing friends without the worry of trying to plan training around it. So no, it's been really nice to be home and just do things like that.
I can so relate to that. I feel like after, I always say to my friends, because I'm going up to Chicago, now is the time when I'm just going to be boring, and then after Chicago I am your yes girl. Ask me anything and I'm there. Absolutely. So it's always such a fun time, but I think I get about a week and a half into it and I'm like, wow, I'm knackered.
I know.
I'm really exhausted.
No, I've been the exact same. I feel like, I'm a bit of a grandma. Like, I'm like, how do people do this? Like, every weekend just go out.
9:30,
like one extreme to the other. But I think it also helps, like when you're then not focusing on training, just having the distraction of being able to socialise. It's then you're still filling your day. Otherwise, if you're sitting at home doing nothing,
exactly,
you just want to go out and train, right? So,
for sure. So, no, it's very nice to keep busy as well.
So I guess the next big focus for you is Paris next year. What does the road to Paris look like for you? So over the next few months, how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, so I think, spending time in Flagstaff again will be a big thing for me. I felt that really helped this year. And I think now we're just seeing more and more people use altitude, particularly across the middle distance and long distance events. I think definitely we'll stick with those kind of 3 main camps out there, which will play a big part. And I think, particularly this winter, what I'm going to focus more on, with the goal of hoping it will help in Paris, is kind of that 3K, 5K. Not only training, but also race it a bit more. So I think, although I probably won't, race really up until Christmas, if I did, it would probably be a road 5K. And then indoors, I think the priority will probably be race 3Ks. At the time, I will probably absolutely hate it, but it will all be hopefully worth it come the summer. I think that's going to kind of be a big emphasis for me, is just get stronger. Because I think we saw in Budapest, a lot of it, although obviously you have to be quick, it's having that strength to get through the rounds and just do like 3 hard ones. It's kind of no good anymore having a kind of good 800 to be able to kick when they're going out so hard and they're doing that heat, semi and final. So I think that's something I'm going to really try to work on this year. And then, as I said, just kind of get ready for British champs, because I feel like, every year people will raise their game and you can never be complacent that, you're going to qualify. So I think a lot of the emphasis will be, being ready for, I don't know exactly when it is, probably end of June, early July. And kind of doing everything to make sure run well there. And fingers crossed it will. And then,
will it be the same as normal as top 2 at British champs, and then they may take a third based on performances? I think that's normally the criteria. And I think thankfully I've kind of ticked off the qualifying time already, but I'm sure you've got to show form and probably run it again next summer anyway. So kind of feel like 1 foot's kind of in the door, but still got a lot to do to make sure I definitely qualify.
And you mentioned the 5K. How different would the training be? What would a typical session be for 1500 meter for you, and what would it be for 5K? How different is that?
So I guess for 1500, I'd do things more just kind of a track one would be maybe 10 400s off a minute, but kind of getting down to quite race specific pace. So more,
what would that be per lap?
So I guess 64s, 65s.
I think my 400 meter PB is 64.
Or whereas I feel like what I need to probably do more of is the more kind of, 2 by 3 miles off, I don't know whether it be 90 seconds or 2 minutes, relatively short recovery. And just kind of keep building up that aerobic base, because I think kind of the shorter lactic stuff I can handle quite well, but it's when they're more road sessions and kind of 10-minute intervals or something, that's something I would struggle with more, but I think it's going to be really important for getting through the rounds and being strong.
Interesting. Something else that Rose and I are really interested in is the pressure in a track race. So in a road or cross country, you've got people watching, but you kind of run past them and then they don't see you. Whereas in a massive stadium, you've got thousands of people and all eyes are on the athletes, and you can't escape it because you're doing laps. So if you're not having a good race, it's clear. There's no hiding. So how do you deal with that pressure? And is it overwhelming?
I think for me, I always find the most nerve-wracking bit of racing is almost the bit before, and even maybe the cool room, because I think that gives you a lot of time just out with your competitors, kind of almost overthinking what's about to happen. And I think that's the really important bit, to be able to stay relaxed, that kind of 20 minutes when you're kind of just sat there waiting to go into the stadium. But I think personally, once I'm kind of on the line and I'm there, it's not as much, it doesn't bother me, but I don't really take into account what's happening. I don't think about how many people are watching. I think, and as soon as the gong goes, I don't,
just
kind of
the
the nerves
zone.
are gone.
Do the crowds help?
I'd say they definitely do, just having experienced Tokyo when it was completely empty. That was quite a kind of eerie silence where it just felt it just felt odd. It felt, I think,
like
almost
a training session.
But at the same time a bit more nerve-wracking, because you could hear every little noise, and I don't know, there was just nothing to, I don't know, I think normally the crowd, they kind of drown out, I don't know, people just muttering or breathing, or whereas you could just hear everything, and that was quite strange.
Such a weird atmosphere.
So I think actually personally I'd rather a crowd be there, and I think it just gives you that extra lift. If you can kind of see it as a positive rather than kind of feel that, oh gosh, so many people are watching me and this is quite nerve-wracking. But I'd say for me the worst bit's almost the bit before in the cool room, rather than once you're out. I feel like you run around a track so many times, you've just got to kind of block everything else out by that point.
Do you have any mental tactics to deal with that 20 minutes in the cool room?
I think just kind of staying relaxed. I think what I've kind of got too distracted by in the past is what other people are doing. Because I think some people in the cool room, I guess, it's probably different for road, because you don't always have that bit when you're really just in a small room together. But like people just kind of tend to do weird things where it's like slapping their legs, or I don't know, making weird noises, or I know some people kind of talk like almost like over talk and just, it's kind of like nervous chatter. And I think it's just not getting like distracted by what's going on and just trying to, kind of whether it's like visualize the race or go over like a race plan. I think that's been useful, whereas I think in the past I've just lost focus by, getting distracted by what other people are doing around me. So I think, that's something from experience I've just learned to just better focus on myself and, kind of not worry too much about what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, hopefully Paris will be a better and more exciting experience in Tokyo.
Fingers crossed you get there.
We're so excited to watch you on the journey. And
one last question for you that we ask all our guests, and that is, what is your high five me moment? So the moment where you'd give yourself a high five.
I feel like there are a few from this season alone.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of racing, it would be, probably the semi-final in Budapest. I think just breaking 4, qualifying for the final, that would definitely be one. But I think just like generally, I think just how I managed to approach training, I think just the discipline that I had compared to previous years, where if I was set a pace that was threshold, I just actually did it. And I didn't kind of, just try and like smash it out the park and then end up, with a niggle 2 weeks later. So I think I'm more almost, kind of like proud of how I handled the training and, just didn't overdo it. And I think almost more so maybe than some of the achievements, which, maybe sounds a bit silly, but I just think that's probably one of the things I would struggle with most is actually just reining things in and just doing it, a bit more controlled than feeling like, everything has to be, flat out.
Yeah, that's awesome, because that's going to reflect on seasons to come as well now that you've got that nailed down. So.
Yeah, I hope so.
Give you more high five moments.
Stay disciplined.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's such a good insight. One I'm definitely going to be taking into my own training. So thank you very much. Thanks so much for joining us on 5 Miles Easy today, Katie. It has been brilliant talking to you, and just so excited for what's to come. We're going to be following your journey as we have been doing the last few years.
Hope all goes well for Paris.
Thanks so much both for having me.
Thanks for joining us for 5 Miles Easy.
See you next time.